Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about beachy fragrances today. Before we get into the list that I have for you, let us know down in the comments what is your favorite beach to visit ever. I have two for you, one that's nostalgic for me just from childhood, and another that's a fantasy beach that I've actually not been able to visit. So the first one is Orchard Beach in New York City. I lived in the Bronx growing up, and it was the beach that was available to us. So we would have fun days at Orchard Beach. Sometimes the waves were a little rough, and so it doesn't have the clearest water or the most swimmable water, but we threw ourselves into these crazy waves as kids anyway. The fantasy beach is actually the beach on Culebra Island in Puerto Rico. I've not actually gotten to the beach. I've only ever seen pictures of it. I've tried to take the ferry from the main island of Puerto Rico out to Culebra. And if you have tried that, you know that getting on a ferry out there can be difficult. You can rent a little plane or get on a plane and go out there like a little puddle jumper. But I've only ever tried to take the ferry. If you know, you know. You have to get in line at like 5 a.m. or something crazy just to even try to get tickets. So we could never get tickets. I've tried 3 or 4 times now. I've only ever been out to Vieques, which has a beautiful beach there too, but it's not quite the same as the pictures of the clear waters in Culebra. So, second runner up to that would be beaches that I have visited on the island of Aruba. So, let us know your favorites down below. Now, when I think about what makes a beachy fragrance, it's kind of hard to describe. Like, why is something in this video versus any other summer focused video or a tropical fragrances video? And I think the answer is beach, or the category of beachy fragrance, is really whatever you personally associate with a beachy scent. So I admit that what I'm going to talk about today could be in other categories as well. I wrote down some notes about when I think about a beachy fragrance, what comes to mind. Perhaps the fragrance has a bit of a salty edge to it. Perhaps it has a bit of a marine touch to it, meaning it reminds me of salt water or the air that comes in off of an ocean or something of that nature. It could be solar, and solar is a big category that refers to any notes that remind you of being in sunlight and the warmth of your skin as it heats up. That could be florals, it can be coconut, it can be a bunch of different notes together that give you a kind of warm, beachy solar scent. Obviously, coconut comes to mind. And so you'll see some fragrances here that have coconut in them. Anything that reminds me of sunblock or the smells that make up sunblock. So that could be yellow and white florals together with something coconutty. It could be something that is a warm breeze over a beach. So some combination of all those kinds of smells together. So perhaps you have a different definition. That's what I'm going with for now. And that's enough introduction to this video. Let's get into it. I have 10 for you. I like a good round list of 10 and some honorable mentions that I need your thoughts on. And I'm going to be talking about these like from the most predictable sort of beachy sense to the most abstract or artistic. So the first one is not one that I actually have in my collection because it reminds me enough of other parts of other fragrances that I didn't feel the need to add it, but it does need to be mentioned in a beachy scents video. That is Sun-Kissed Goddess by Kilian. Okay, so this is a very expensive fragrance for it to be 50 mils. I think this is up into the 200 and some odd dollar range. So, I mean, if you think about that, that's a pretty pricey fragrance for sort of a summer scent, at least in my opinion. This one, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the notes of it, but it reminded me when I tried it out of a luxurious suntan lotion that was sort of toned down and put into perfume form. And I love it for that. I feel like it is one of the more predictable, nostalgic, true to form beach scents where it smells like a melange of gardens nearby and sunblock and coconut cream and all of that combined into one. So this one has yellow and white florals and coconut and vanilla as primary players, a little bit of citrus at the top, and it's sort of a lively, happy opening, and then it settles down into like your Bain de Soleil beautiful sunblock smell. If you like sunblock, you have to enjoy sunblock to enjoy this smell in perfume form. So ylang ylang and tiara are primary players. And then you have the creaminess and beauty of the coconut and vanilla to kind of warm up the fragrance, add sort of a creamy nuance to it, and give it that overall sunblock feel. I think this is a fantastic fragrance. I would say it's maybe on the more youthful end of the sort of beachy types of scents, and it's fun. It's a fun, playful fragrance. Now, this one has gotten really mixed reviews. Some people feel like for the price tag, it doesn't smell luxurious enough. So I think it all depends on your budget, what you're comfortable spending, and what kind of fragrance experience you're going for. This one was moderately long lasting when I tried it out, and I don't think it's a big projector, but it is a beautiful sort of true to form scent. So That's what I mean by predictable. When I think of a beach fragrance, this sort of nails it right on the head in terms of smelling like sunblock and some tropical florals and summertime in the sun happiness. So that's Sunkissed Goddess by Kilian. Okay, the next fragrance is super playful, very similar to Sunkissed Goddess in my opinion, except it leans more in a white floral direction, although it also has this very sort of predictable, beachy, sunblocky smell. And maybe you also applied like a gardenia fragrance over your sunblock. And the bottle is even fun. And I don't know if we can call this affordable, but it is not one of the pricier ones that I'm going to talk about today. This is Bain de Midi from Maison Matine. And I'm going to hold this up to the camera so that you can see the little surfers in the background, which I think is such a fun little addition. All of the fragrances from this house have these little graphics on the back that give you some sense of what you're supposed to be smelling. So there will be no surprises here. This smells very much like sunblock with a beautiful creamy white floral on top. Very playful, happy fragrance. Again, reminds me completely of coming up over the dunes. Like I lived in Virginia Beach for a long time, and when I wanted to go to the beach, I would go to the north end rather than sort of the commercial end. I mean, I hung out on the commercial end too. Who am I kidding? But I preferred to go up to the north end of the beach where it was more residential. So you had to park on the street somewhere or down an alleyway or something, get in where you fit in kind of thing. We would grab our gear, my friends and I, and we would go over the sand dunes. And as you're coming up over the sand dunes, you get a whiff of that breeze off of the ocean that's salty and marine and all of that. And everything that people were wearing. So all of their fragrances, all of their sunblocks sort of in the air together. This reminds me very truly of that, kind of in the same ways as Sunkissed Goddess, although you get more of like a creamy yellow floral in there, the Kilian one, whereas this one leans more in the white floral direction. And it's a fun fragrance. You're going to get moderate longevity and projection out of this one. And it's everything it promises to be and nothing more. And that's it. And so it smells like the beach. It smells like the beach. And I loved it for that. So third in this category of predictable scents, although after this, we're going to start getting into maybe more abstract fragrances. I think this one is maybe on the cusp, but I put it in the predictable category. This is one that I had a little bottle of, and I either went through it or something. I can't find the little bottle. It's a Kayali fragrance, and I purchased the big one either in a recent sale or it doesn't matter. Like I had a coupon for it or whatever. This is Maui in a bottle, which was my scent of the day recently, not today. And thank you, Kayali, for putting the keynotes on the back that you would like for us to pick up on. Sweet banana, pear, coconut cream, jasmine, sandalwood, vanilla is what's on the back. This is an obsession for me, and I'm going to tell you why. It's like an interpretive, is that a word? Did I just make that up? An interpretation of a warm banana note. So it doesn't smell like a freshly peeled banana. It smells like when you have very ripe bananas and you mash them up to put them in a banana bread or some cookies that you want banana in, or you want to use it in some other kind of dessert. It's giving me that plus like a dark, creamy coconut. It's not a bright, freshly fallen off the tree coconut. This is a deeper, creamier, desserty kind of coconut mixed with, for me, one of the most sort of beautiful jasmine notes combined with the others. Like I've smelled lots of different kinds of jasmine. You have really light, wispy jasmine and dolic jasmine, deeper, more mature jasmine, jasmine that smells like a very deepened, I just said that. Let me say that again, like a very deepened version of the flower. Here, everything smells deep and almost sensual in a way. I will say that after maybe an hour or so, the banana aspect sort of takes a back seat. For me, I smell it throughout in a sort of light way. It's very heavy in the beginning, and then it sort of takes a back seat to the florals in the fragrance. I don't really get pear here, at least not distinctly. I enjoy this fragrance so much. Other adjectives for me would be warm, enveloping, very sort of like sunlight solar. If you've tried Terracotta from Guerlain, if Terracotta had a younger, more youthful, updated sister, I think this one would be in the running for that award or that label, in that it has floral aspects, it has warm aspects, it has the coconut. So it smells both like a tropical garden and a creamy coconut at the same time. They're together. And the addition of that warm banana note in the beginning is just beautiful. There's a sweetness to this. Now, be careful with the reviews on this fragrance because folks are not, they're all over the place. Some people are loving this. It's like their dreamy summer fragrance. And then other people think that this smells too indolic. Like the jasmine, it's too jasmine forward. The jasmine smells like it's rotting. I don't really get any of that, but I have a very high tolerance for florals. So take that with a grain of salt if you're a floral hater. If you are a floral lover, I think the jasmine in here is just so warm, mature, and beautiful alongside those other creamy, warm notes. So this is a winner. This is one that I wore full day recently. I've been spraying, like doing the drive-by spraying quite a bit. I have sprayed my robes with it at night. I love the warmth and happiness of this smell. So this is a big winner for me. It seemed to last pretty decently, even though the opening part that I love the most, like I said, kind of took a back seat to the jasmine forward, vanilla forward part of the fragrance, which I don't have a problem with. It smells great throughout. And it's one that I enjoyed smelling in the evenings. There's a comforting factor to this fragrance that I think maybe the other ones do not have. So huge thumbs up on Maui in a bottle. Okay, so then let's start getting into the more abstract versions of beachy scents. The ones I'm going to immediately talk about next do have some predictable aspects, but they also have other sort of accords or aspects of them that feel a little bit more artistic. So I'll kick off with one that I talked about in a recent purchase or past video. The thumbnail looks like this if you'd like to catch it. Listen, I had 6 Gleam fragrances. That's the house that this fragrance is from. I tried 6 Gleam new releases lately. One was a total bomb that I just couldn't get with. 2 were great and maybe for someone else. And then there were a few that I really did enjoy. And this was one of the top 2 that I tried. It is called COCCOBELLO. I have another COCCOBELLO that we're going to talk about. So there are 2 fragrances with the same name. So this one is from Gleam and the spelling has a space in it. So it's Coco space Bello. The other COCCOBELLO is anyway, we'll get into it later, friends. That really doesn't matter. Here, the key players are yet another banana note, coconut, and then there are these marini, like ocean water-esque aspects to this. I'll share some of the other notes in a minute, but for me, those are the primary players. And I'll say that in terms of the banana portion of this, it is a more realistic, I just peeled a ripe banana, so you get that sort of sweet, ripe banana smell, whereas Maui in a bottle, it smells more like crushed up ripe bananas right before you put them into the dessert. So that's for me the difference in the banana aspects of these fragrances. The coconut here is not quite as creamy as Maui in a bottle, but it does still have a creamy aspect to it. And then you get this sort of fresh off the ocean breeze air. There's also, interestingly enough, a sand note or sand type of accord here. I don't exactly know what the fantasy note of sand is supposed to smell like for us, but I'm going to say that it probably smells something in the neighborhood of warm and solar. If you think about walking across hot sand, at least that's what I think of. I imagine what the hot air above the sand smells like rather than grains of sand. I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm imagining as I sniff this. There's also a cotton candy note and some ozonic notes. So this one overall has a little bit more of an artistic edge to it. Primary players, though, undeniably for me, are that ripe banana. I just peeled it. And I also have some coconut nearby, as well as that fresh breeze off the ocean. There is a level of airiness to this, and it's a fun fragrance. I don't think it leans in the sweet direction, but thinking about the cotton candy note, I imagine it's supposed to lend some kind of femininity and sweetness to this. So I think this is a very unisex scent, but there are some sweeter aspects that I think would be lovely for the ladies. So that's COCCOBELLO, nicely lasting, nicely projecting, very interesting scent. It kind of sort of reminds me of the part of Wave Child from Room 1015 that I tried last year. The dry down of that one did not work out for me. I love the opening aspect of it. This reminds me, I could be crazy, but it reminds me of the sort of opening of Wave Child minus that beautiful watermelon note. And so that's what came to mind as I tried this out. So that's COCCOBELLO, brand new from Gleam, hot off the press, y'all. So then let's talk about the other COCCOBELLO, which I think is now renamed Palm. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't looked at the website recently. So I have this version here from Heeley called COCCOBELLO with the beautiful, very minimalistic, simplistic label. And I appreciate that, although I love a fun quirky, kitschy kind of design like this one from MIDI as well. The minimalistic nature of this label kind of gives you some clues about the edited back version that this fragrance is. This one leans squarely unisex to me, and I think some of you might argue that it has a few toes in masculine territory, so I want to share that for those of you that prefer to stay over in the feminine side. The fragrance that this reminds me of the most, for those of you that have sampled a lot, Elephant from Zoologist. In that it has a dry, almost what I call a husky coconut. So you're not smelling this sort of fleshy part of the coconut, nor the cream, coconut cream in a can that you might use for tropical beverages or desserts or anything like that. It is a very dry, like heated up, husky kind of coconut, and I like it for that. It reminds me very much of walking up to a beach where you have had to walk through some kind of wooded area. It's in a dry destination, so the air may not be super humid, but it's definitely hot, and you're crunching over vegetation that has fallen off of palm trees and so forth. And so there's a little bit of greenness under your feet. The air is sort of hot and wavering, like mirage-like, as you're approaching the sand part of the beach. There's a bit of a dry coconut husky smell in the air, and there's a warm, dry breeze coming. That is captured in this bottle. So if you look at the description of this, I think whoever did the description on Fragrantica nailed it in terms of saying that this is a woody fragrance with some green touches and a dry coconut. It's beautiful. I feel like it is exquisite, and I love that it is an edited back version, no fuss, no muss, no extra added notes. In terms of like the visual imagery, there's nothing competing with that image of walking up in a dry climate onto a very hot beach with dry, hot air and a little bit of greenness coming up from the ground and the dry, husky coconut. Period. End of story. That is what you get. So think woody coconut and a little bit of greenness. I will say that this does have some vanilla in it to kind of add a little bit of robust nature to the base of this. So it doesn't sort of hover strictly in this dry air category. There's a little bit of background umph to this, but it's lovely. It's quite a lovely fragrance. I do have to be in the mood for this because of that sort of very subtle greenness to it and the fact that it is unisex. Maybe like here's unisex, right? Like here's super feminine, here's super masculine. So it's unisex, but it's like this. So you kind of have to be in the mood for it, but I think it is an exquisite, beautifully done fragrance. COCCOBELLO or Palm or whatever it's called now. I'm unsure if the next fragrance belonged in a different category, like I considered putting it in the tropical fruity category, but it has a sister in its lineup that I think belongs better over there. This is from Ellis, Brooklyn, Miami Nectar, which was the it girl of last summer. Do you still have this in your collection? Did you ever have it in your collection? Did you have it and declutter it? Were you never interested in it? Let us know down in the comments. The reason I think it could have been in the tropical fruity category is because it has a pretty prominent pineapple note that for me, yes, it smells like pineapple, but it also has like these citrusy, overall citrusy nuances, which pineapple as a note can have citrusy nuances, right? I love that this has like a thin, almost watery coconut note along with florals. So the primary florals here, frangipani and jasmine. There's vanilla and woody notes and a hint of like a green touch to this fragrance. So what it reminds me of is you've had a day at the beach and there happens to be a beach bar that's right on the beach, like a tiki hut that's selling drinks. And you've gotten yourself a fruity beverage that has some pineapple and perhaps a little bit of coconut water in it with your rum or whatever. This isn't a boozy fragrance. But think about the sort of fruity aspects of that drink alongside the smells that you might get off of the beach. I feel like this is a combination of that. It's interesting with this because I think this is one that people love or they just no, like it's a no for them. For me, I think this is a great summertime fragrance. I'm not sure why it ever got bad reviews or hate. I think it's a really fun one. So this reminds me of flip-flops. I've got the towel around me because I'm done like hanging out in the water, or maybe there's a pool nearby too. You've been hanging out at the pool and I'm just ready to chill. The sun may be going down in a couple of hours and I want to start my it's 5 o'clock somewhere thing going on. And I go to the tiki hut to get my tropical drink while I'm still wearing sunblock and all of that. All those smells meshed together are for me what Miami Nectar smells like. And I think it's great. All right, this next fragrance does require some interpretation on your part. So I talked about going to the tiki hut with the last one. This one, you're done with the beach and you're going to go wash off at the spa and have your spa treatment. And there's maybe some wafting out from the spa area of their refreshing, room filling smells or whatever. This one is from Ledda. It's 14 Isla or Isla Coco. I still don't know how to pronounce this. I'm sure Stephanie Letta has talked about it in her reels, and I should probably go watch those to learn the correct pronunciation. That part doesn't matter. What I want to share about this and what makes it different from the other ones in the lineup is it has more pronounced citrus. So when we think about beach, we don't typically think about citrus scents. Get your words together, Veronica. But the addition of ylang ylang and coconut here does harken me back to a beach environment. So, again, think about smells that might be wafting through a spa to entice you in. It has this sort of airy, wispy nature to it with citrus that is calming and zen like and refreshing. And there's an infusion of a tea note that I smell a whole lot more this year than I did, I think, last summer. Last summer, this felt very citrusy, coconutty to me. Now I'm getting citrus, coconut, florals, and this fairly pronounced tea note. And I get a touch of the fig. There's a fig note in here that I think some people either pick up or don't. And it's almost like a hint of green. So, one of the most refreshing spa smells with the beach air in the background. And I think it's a fun one for summer, particularly for people that are in super hot environments and you don't want something heavy or sticky or cloying, but you want a refreshing beachy scent. This one might be a good bet for you. And I just really enjoy this house in general. I have not gotten the new rose fragrance. I think it's called Rose Scenic or Scenic Rose. Let me know if you have that fragrance and if I should pick it up. I'd like to know your thoughts on what that fragrance smells like. But I do have the four others from the house and really quite enjoy them all in their own unique and special way. The last three that I have, and then I have some honorable mentions that I'd like to chat with you all about. These three do require your imagination and interpretation. There's no denying that they have beachy aspects to them, but they aren't as literal or direct as some of the other fragrances I've mentioned. The first one of the three, I only have a travel spray of. I've been testing this one out for a long time. It's called HAMACA, which means hammock, and it's from the house 2787. This is such a soft, subtle, almost like a skin scent version of a beachy scent. So if you want something projecting, you want something that's going to get noticed, this is not for you. This is for those people that you want your scent to be intimate, close to the skin, and you don't care if other people smell you. You want to enjoy it. There's something super like cozy and warm and inviting about this one. It has like the slightest whisper of coconut, almost like this cottony, warm, musky skin texture to it, like your skin but better type of deal. I would venture to say even a little bit of a marine nature. I'm looking at the travel spray like it's going to tell me about itself, right? Anyway, a little bit of a salty marine nature, and then vanilla is another feature. So some of the notes here: seawater, coconut, sandalwood, vanilla, and tonka bean. Here's the brand's description: salty skin from the sea mingles with a hint of creamy coconut, heated up by the sun to a noble and warm tonka bean, converting over time into a peaceful and relaxing vanilla. This one I would describe as subtle, warm, cozy, enveloping, and very skin scent like. So it might be one that you put on in the morning as you wake up at your resort and have your coffee out on the porch, or as the evening is coming, night is falling, and you just want a little bit of additional scent before you go into your nighttime routine, or maybe even after you shower after a long, hot, sticky, disgusting day in the tropics. The kind where like all your clothing sticks to you and you need to wash your hair and everything, and you've just put on your fresh pajamas for the evening, you're in air conditioning and you want something subtle to remind you of the day, Hamaka might be a great choice. This is a very sort of gentleman or polite woman's fragrance for the summer. So give this one a sniff. People don't talk about this probably because it's so light and maybe underwhelming for a lot of people. But for those of you that appreciate those more subtle scents, this one is a winner to check out. So these last two, in my opinion, are the most sophisticated of the bunch, maybe with the exception of Heeley's COCCOBELLO. I find this one to be fairly sophisticated as well. These two here are like a whisper of a beach scent in the most elegant of ways. So the first one up is in the original packaging for House of Beau. This is called La Mar. This one has been all over social media and touted as one of the best beachy fragrances or best summer, elegant, worth every penny kinds of fragrances. Worth every penny because it is such a little masterpiece in the way that it's edited down only to its essential elements. Not because it lasts and not because it projects. This is another fairly quiet fragrance that will have a scent bubble around you without screaming loudly like some of the other scents can do. So the original packaging, and then there's a new packaging that has a different kind of stone on top and the metal plate. And my understanding is that that is a parfum version, whereas this is the eau de parfum. I'm not quite sure. I really quite prefer this packaging with the travertine style top, which reminds me very much of my personal trips with my family and my husband down to the Mexican Riviera and staying in really beautifully appointed villas with like all of the amenities. And you've got your bathrooms and your kitchens decked out in the most beautiful stone like this. So this one I would describe as hillside or cliffside over a beach rather than being right on the beach with the smells of the beach. Like this one is less in the coconut direction, although it does have a coconut note and is more like you're smelling the air off of the ocean coming up to your nose, along with beachy floral smells. So, one of the main notes is tuberose. However, tuberose here is combined with gardenia and jasmine and sweetened up a little bit by coconut, like a very thin coconut and almond milk, which I think is so lovely. This is a hard fragrance to describe and one that is so worth sampling. They do have little travel sprays of these on the site. I mean, the travel spray bottles are not the cutest things in the world, but they work. I'm trying to think, where can you get a sample of this? I'll look around and I'll put it up on the screen because these are very pricey fragrances. But this is one that I think is just so elegant, so refined. This is like the cliffside version of Soleil Blanc from Tom Ford, which is probably my favorite summer fragrance ever. That one has a more creamy, pronounced coconut in it. This one is a little bit thinner and wispier in the air than Soleil Blanc, but they're similar. They have, like, this might be like the more demure, polite, maybe nerdy cousin to Soleil Blanc, which is a little bit more ostentatious, showing off its new money. Soleil Blanc is nouveau riche. This one this one is your, generational wealth type of scent that doesn't have to scream to prove how beautiful it is. It's a masterpiece in a bottle for what it is. Soft. You're not going to get a lot out of this fragrance in terms of lasting all day long. You'll get enough for like an evening out, a day outing, and it'll play very nicely with everyone. Very, very well-mannered summer fragrance. Fan freaking tastic. Maybe my favorite of the ones that we're talking about today. So let me go on it. Well, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. Okay. And so I'll end. I have some honorable mentions, so stick around. But in terms of my recommendations, I will end with the one that may require your imagination the most. And this is from Veronique Gabai. It is called Sur la plage, which means on the beach. Last year, I said it means south of the beach, south of the beach, because I know the word sur to mean south, but it means on the beach in French. So thank you to all of you who shared that. Anyway, this is another sort of cliffside scent where you're getting the waft off of the beach, less creaminess than any of the fragrances that I've talked about. This one is more distinctly like salt beach air scent with some florals as well. Heavier on the jasmine note, no creamy florals in this one to sort of cut the salty beach air. So that's the main thing to know about this one versus the other ones that I've talked about. It also has, and I didn't pick this up last year, just like the slightest background refreshing minor, like a minor player, a little touch of greenness in the background. Almost like a freshly cut grass accord, but it's like at the bottom of the accord list, right? It's the slightest thing that you smell. More than anything, salty beach air, a beautiful light young jasmine smell, and a little bit of greenness. It's beautiful in its own way. It's thin, it's wispy, it's refreshing, it's light, it's dreamy, it's ethereal. If you're looking for sweetness in a fragrance, this is not it. If you're looking for that literal interpretation of air off of the beach minus the sunblock smell, You know, this one might be cliffside on a beach that is not swimmable, for example. But on the cliff, there are some gardens, and you're getting the beautiful salty air off of the ocean, that refreshing salty air that is sur la plage. Okay, so then here are the honorable mentions. One that I have a little bottle of, a little baby bottle. This is a 5 ml bottle from ScentSplit. And three that I don't have in hand, but I'm curious about your thoughts. Curious about your thoughts. This one is Bali High from Maison de Lazy or Lazy. And I have done a full day wear on this now. I don't think I'm going to purchase a bottle of this, but I do want to give it a big sort of 2 thumbs up, a big up to this fragrance for the creamy coconut tropical floral beauty that it is. This is another one that I didn't think gave me sunblock vibes, but it kind of does. And it's the expensive sunblock. We're not talking about your little drugstore off the shelf Neutrogena copper tone crap. It's not crap. I wear that stuff too. But this is the super expensive $50 to $100 a bottle sunblock with a little bit of perfume in it. Very pretty, very pretty. I don't feel like this lasted super long on me. Again, this is a little, little like a half of a travel spray. Let me know for those of you that have this fragrance if you feel like it lasted a super long time. It's very pretty, very solar, very coconutty and tropical creamy floral all at the same time. I have enough others that kind of scratch the itch that I think I'm going to pass on the full bottle, but I do want to give it an honorable mention for those of you that are interested in that kind of scent and you like the bottles. The bottles are pretty. I also would love to know your thoughts on Juanillo. I think it's how it's pronounced by Adamo or Adamo. I ordered a travel spray of that. I'll pop up a picture of the bottle. That sounded dreamy, creamy, beachy as well. So I'm eager to try that out. Let me know if you have had a chance to try La Playa from Carner, Barcelona. I have not. I can't get a sample of it anywhere. Did I try Lucky Scent? I don't think I looked on Lucky Scent, but I have vowed not to buy those dang dabber samples. We're not messing with dabbers ever again. Anyway, I'm very curious to try this. I know a lot of you love it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And then finally, have you tried St. Bart's by Ouai or UA or OA or Way or however the heck you say the name of the brand? People say it all kinds of ways. Folks have raved about this. It's like is it a body spray or a body mist, a hair mist, something? I'm curious about it. Would love to hear your thoughts on these. I think that's where we'll pause the video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of today's lineup? Are you a beachy scent lover? What does beachy mean to you? Tell us everything. I want to hear. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, friends.